I never imagined that a simple weekend getaway would unravel the fabric of my life, exposing secrets so dark they could swallow the sun. It all began with a frantic phone call from my husband, Marcus, one rainy Thursday evening. I was in the kitchen, stirring a pot of spaghetti sauce, the aroma of garlic and basil filling our cozy suburban home. Our daughter, Lily, who had just turned 6, was coloring at the table, her tongue poking out in concentration as she drew a rainbow unicorn for her grandma. Marcus burst through the door, his face ashen, phone pressed to his ear. "Okay, I'll head out right away. Keep me posted." He hung up and met my eyes, his own filled with a worry I'd rarely seen in our 8 years of marriage. "It's Mom. She's had a bad fall. The neighbor found her collapsed in the garden. They're taking her to the hospital now." My heart skipped. Evelyn, Marcus's mother, was a vibrant widow in her late 60s, living alone in a charming cottage in Willow Creek, a sleepy village about 4 hours' drive from our city apartment. She was the kind of woman who baked pies for the entire neighborhood and volunteered at the local library. Falls weren't unheard of at her age, but the urgency in Marcus's voice set off alarms in my mind. "How bad is it? Should I come with you?" I asked, already wiping my hands on a dish towel and glancing at Lily. He shook his head, pulling a duffel bag from the hall closet. "No, Alina, stay here with Lily. The doctors think it might be a hip fracture, but they need to run tests. I don't want to drag you both out there if it's nothing serious. Plus, the roads are slick from the rain." He packed hastily, shirts, socks, his charger, kissing Lily's forehead before turning to me. "I'll call as soon as I know more. Love you." "I love you too. Drive safe," I replied, hugging him tightly. He smelled like his usual cologne, mixed with the faint scent of office coffee. As his car pulled away, I tried to shake off the unease. Marcus was a devoted son. Of course he'd rush to her side. The next day brought sporadic updates. "Arrived safe. Mom's in surgery for a broken hip." Then, "She's stable but groggy from pain meds." By Saturday, the messages grew shorter. "Busy with docs, all good." Sunday, nothing. My calls rang straight to voicemail. Texts went unread. I paced our living room, staring at the family photos on the mantel, Marcus grinning at our wedding, Lily's first birthday, Evelyn beaming at a holiday dinner. Something felt off. Marcus had been distant lately, working late as a software engineer, claiming deadlines for a big project. I'd brushed it aside as stress, but now doubts crept in like shadows. By Monday morning, I couldn't take it anymore. "Lily, sweetie, how about we surprise Daddy and Grandma with a visit? We can bring her favorite cookies." Lily's eyes sparkled. "Yay, and my unicorn drawing." We packed quickly, clothes, toys, snacks, and a batch of oatmeal raisin cookies I'd baked that morning. I tried Marcus one last time, no answer. "We're coming to help," I texted, keeping the surprise element. The drive to Willow Creek was scenic but tense. Rolling hills gave way to dense forests, the radio playing soft folk tunes. Lily napped in the back, clutching her drawing. My mind wandered to oddities I'd ignored. Marcus's secretive phone calls in the garage, a new password on his laptop, unexplained charges on our credit card for business expenses. Was it paranoia or intuition? We arrived as dusk painted the sky in oranges and purples. Evelyn's cottage sat at the end of a quiet lane, its white picket fence and flower boxes usually welcoming. But today, the shutters were closed tight, no lights on despite the fatting day. Marcus's SUV was in the driveway, which eased my worry slightly. "We're here, Mommy," Lily chirped, unbuckling herself. As I unloaded our bags, a figure emerged from the house next door, an elderly man with a cane, his face etched with concern. "Wait, don't go in there," he called, hobbling across the lawn. I recognized him as Mr. Harold, Evelyn's neighbor for decades, a retired mechanic who shared gardening tips with her. "Mr. Harold, it's me, Alina, Marcus's wife," I said, confused as he approached, his hands trembling. He glanced nervously at the cottage. "Alina, thank God I saw you. You can't go inside. Something's wrong, very wrong." His voice was a hoarse whisper, eyes darting like a hunted animal. "What do you mean? Evelyn's hurt. Marcus is with her." Lily tugged at my hand, sensing the tension. Mr. Harold shook his head. "Evelyn isn't here. She left for a cruise with her book club friends a week ago, healthy as ever. I drove her to the airport myself." The words hit like a punch. A cruise, but Marcus said she fell. My voice trailed off as sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder. Two sheriff's deputies' cars roared up, lights flashing, blocking the street. Deputies jumped out, hands on holsters. "Ma'am, step back with the child," a stern woman with a badge ordered, her partner scanning the house. "This is a potential crime scene." "Crime scene? My husband is inside with his mother," I protested, pulling Lily close. The lead deputy, Sheriff Carla Reyes, a no-nonsense woman with sharp features, approached. "Name's Reyes. We got a tip from Mr. Harold here. Your husband arrived 3 days ago, not alone. There was a young woman with him, looked distressed. Last night, screams echoed from the house, breaking glass, then silence." My world tilted. A woman? No, that can't be right, Marcus wouldn't. But doubts flooded back, the late nights, the secrets. Sheriff Reyes softened slightly. "We need you to wait across the street at Mr. Harold's, for safety. We'll search the premises." Mr. Harold led us away, Lily whimpering. From his porch, we watched the deputies surround the cottage. Reyes used a bullhorn. "This is the sheriff's department. Come out with your hands up." No response. They breached the door with a battering ram, wood splintering. Guns drawn, they vanished inside. Inside Mr. Harold's home, he made Lily tea and put on a cartoon. "What exactly did you see?" I demanded, my voice shaking. He sighed, sinking into a chair. "Marcus pulled up Friday night with a woman, mid-20s, brunette, dressed fancy like she was from the city. He yanked her from the car. She resisted, but he dragged her in. I thought maybe a family friend, but it felt off. Then last night, around midnight, yelling, a woman's voice. 'Let me go,' smashing sounds. I peeked out, saw shadows struggling through the curtains. Called the sheriff this morning when I saw Marcus hauling a bulky tarp-wrapped bundle to his trunk at dawn. Drove off, came back empty-handed an hour later. A bundle, my mind reeled. Marcus, the gentle man who'd proposed on a beach at sunset, who read bedtime stories to Lily with silly voices. It couldn't be. Knox interrupted. Sheriff Reyes entered, her expression grave. "Mrs. Torres, Alina, we've cleared the house." Empty, no one inside, but evidence of foul play. She glanced at Lily, absorbed in the TV. "Come with me. Mr. Harold can watch the girl." The cottage reeked of bleach and something coppery, blood. The living room was chaos. Overturned chairs, shattered lamp, a rug bunched up hiding a smeared crimson stain. "Preliminary tests confirm blood," Reyes said. "Human, a lot of it, and in the basement." She led me down creaky stairs. The space, once Evelyn's craft room, now held ropes, duct tape, and a discarded high-heel shoe stained red. I collapsed against the wall. Who was she? Why? "We're piecing it together. Your husband's phone records show calls to a number linked to a missing person. Sophia Grant, 28, reported vanished 2 days ago from the city. Worked at his firm. Colleagues say they were close, too close. Possible affair gone wrong." An affair, the thought stabbed deep. But murder? Marcus wouldn't. Reyes's radio crackled. "Sheriff, we've got a hit. SUV's GPS shows a trip to Blackwood Forest this morning, sending a team." Hours blurred. Lily napped at Mr. Harold's. I gave statements, numb. By nightfall, news broke. Search dogs found a shallow grave in the woods. Sophia's body strangled, blunt trauma. Marcus's fingerprints everywhere. He was arrested fleeing town in a rental car, cash and fake ID in tow. The motive? Sophia was pregnant, his child. He'd panicked, lured her to the cottage under false pretenses, killed her in a rage when she demanded he leave me. In court months later, Marcus confessed, tears streaming. "I never meant to hurt anyone. It spiraled." But his eyes, cold now, betrayed the monster beneath. Lily and I moved in with Evelyn after her crew's return, shocked but supportive. Therapy helped, but scars remain. I rebuilt stronger for my daughter. Life's facade can crack, revealing horrors, but from ruins we rise. Years on, Lily asks about her dad sparingly. I tell truths gently, and I never forget Mr. Harold's pale face at the fence, whispering warnings that saved us from walking into hell. Emily Harper clutched the steering wheel tightly as she navigated the winding country road toward her mother-in-law's quaint cottage in the sleepy town of Willow Creek. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the fields, and her 5-year-old son, Tommy, hummed softly in the back seat, oblivious to the urgency that had pulled them from their suburban home 2 hours away. Her husband, David, had called that morning, his voice strained and urgent. "Mom's not well, Em. She's had a fall. I need to go take care of her. Can you and Tommy come up? She'll want to see you both." It wasn't like David to sound so rattled. He was the steady one in their marriage, the reliable accountant who balanced their modest life with quiet efficiency. They'd been together for 8 years, building a simple existence in a cozy house with a white picket fence, far from the chaos of the city where David worked at a mid-sized investment firm. But something in his tone had unsettled her, so she'd packed quickly and hit the road. As she pulled into the driveway of Aliner's house, Emily frowned. David's car was there, but the place looked eerily quiet. No lights on inside, despite the fading daylight. She unbuckled Tommy and led him to the front door, knocking softly. No answer. Trying the knob, she found it unlocked. "David! Aliner!" she called, stepping into the dim hallway. The living room was a mess, papers strewn across the floor, a lamp overturned, cushions askew on the couch. It wasn't like Aliner, who prided herself on her spotless home. Tommy tugged at her hand. "Mommy, where's Grandma?" Before Emily could respond, a voice came from the kitchen. "Mrs. Harper, I'm Detective Harris with the state police. Please come in slowly." Her heart skipped a beat. Police. She scooped Tommy up protectively and edged forward. In the kitchen, a tall man in a rumpled suit stood with 2 uniformed officers. "What's going on? Where's my husband? My mother-in-law?" Detective Harris held up a hand calmly. "Your mother-in-law is fine as far as we know. She's in Florida visiting her sister. But your husband, we're looking for him. Please sit down. This might be a shock." Emily's legs felt weak as she lowered herself into a chair, Tommy on her lap. "Looking for him? He called me this morning, said Aliner was sick. That's why we're here." The detective's eyes softened with sympathy. "I'm afraid that's not true. We've been called here by a neighbor, Mrs. Jenkins. She reported suspicious activity last night, a loud argument, a woman screaming, and your husband dragging someone into the house. When we arrived, the place was like this, and David was gone." Emily's mind reeled. "A woman? What woman? This has to be a mistake. David wouldn't." "There's more," Harris said gently. "Come with me." He led her to the guest bedroom, the one Tommy always used during visits. An officer was inside, shining a flashlight on the floor. Unlike the disarray in the living room, this room was pristine, the bed made with military precision, surfaces gleaming. "Notice the difference?" Harris asked. "Someone cleaned this room meticulously, but not perfectly." He nodded to the officer, who switched to an ultraviolet light. Suddenly, the floor glowed with eerie blue stains, splatter patterns that had been scrubbed away but not erased. Emily gasped, clutching Tommy tighter. "Is that blood?" "We believe so," Harris confirmed. "And in the bathroom, more traces, a significant amount suggesting a serious injury." Tommy whimpered, sensing her fear. "Mommy, I'm scared." "It's okay, sweetie," she whispered, though her own voice shook. "Detective, this can't be David. He's gentle, kind. He's never even raised his voice to me or Tommy." Harris sighed. "Mrs. Harper, there's more you need to know. Your husband has been under investigation for months for embezzlement. He and his colleague, Laura Bennett, are suspected of running a Ponzi scheme through the firm. Millions siphoned from clients into offshore accounts." Embezzlement, the word hit like a punch. David handled their finances, but they lived frugally. No fancy vacations, no luxury cars. "That doesn't make sense. We're not rich. If he stole money, where is it?" "Not spent on luxuries," Harris explained. "Funneled abroad, we think they plan to flee with it. Ms. Bennett, the woman Mrs. Jenkins saw, matches the description. She looked terrified, according to the neighbor." Emily's stomach twisted. "And the blood, you think it's hers?" "The volume suggests a fatal wound, yes." Fatal, the implication hung heavy. David, a murderer? It was impossible. She remembered their wedding day, his soft smile as he vowed to protect her forever. The nights he rocked Tommy to sleep when he was colicky. How could that man do this? The officer examining the room straightened. "Detective, found this under the bed. He held up a leather-bound notebook. Looks like a journal. Harris flipped through it. Last entry, yesterday. David's betraying me. He's cutting me out, keeping the money. Confronted him, he lost it. Scared for my life. It's signed L.B., Laura Bennett. Emily's world tilted. Betrayal, violence, it didn't fit. Then the officer found something else. A silver necklace with emerald pendants tangled in the bedsheets. Not mine, Emily said numbly. Not Aliner's either. Likely Miss Bennett's, Harris noted, bagging it as evidence. Her phone buzzed, an unknown international number. It might be Aliner, she said, showing Harris. He nodded. Answer on speaker. Emily, oh, thank heavens, Aliner's voice crackled, frantic. Are you all right, Tommy? We're here at your house, Emily replied, tears welling. David said you were sick. Sick? No, dear. I'm in Florida. David called me this morning, hysterical. Said you and Tommy were kidnapped, demanded I wire my savings for ransom. Kidnapped? The lies piled up like a house of cards collapsing. Harris took the phone. Mrs. Harper Sr., this is Detective Harris. No kidnapping, your son lied. Don't send any money, we're investigating fraud. And worse. Aliner's gasp echoed. David, my boy, what has he done? After calming her and ending the call, Harris turned to Emily. We need to find him. He left with a suitcase this morning, per Mrs. Jenkins, returned without it. We're searching dump sites, Rivers. A body. They were hunting for Laura's body. Emily felt numb. Now, Harris continued, we think he'll come back. For the car, maybe to check on the transfer from his mother. We'll use that. The plan unfolded in Mrs. Jenkins' living room, now a makeshift HQ. Maps, radios, officers bustling. Tommy napped upstairs, exhausted. Emily sipped cold tea, listening. Aliner calls him, says the bank's balking on the wire, needs in-person pickup here. Bait him to a meet. Where? Emily asked. The old mill on the outskirts, isolated but controllable. And me. Your presence could lure him out. Stay in the van, appear only after he's secured. For Tommy, for Aliner, for justice, Emily agreed. But Tommy stays here with Mrs. Jenkins and guards. Hours blurred. Aliner prepped for the call. Emily watched Tommy sleep, heart aching. How to tell him Daddy was gone. The call came, on speaker. Mom, David's voice edged with paranoia. David, the bank's difficult. Big transfer flags issues, but their rep can hand cash locally. Suspicion laced his reply. Where? Old Mill, 5 p.m. Alone, black suitcase. Pause. All the money. Yes, son, for Emily and Tommy. He bought it. Fine. Adrenaline surged as they mobilized. Emily rode in the van, hidden cameras everywhere. At the mill, crumbling brick, overgrown weeds, teams positioned. 5 p.m. neared. A car approached David's. He stepped out, wary, scanning. Go time, Harris whispered. David entered the mill. Officers closed in silently. A shout. Police, hands up. Struggle ensued. David bolted but was tackled. Cuffed, he glared as Emily emerged from the van. What? Tears streamed. Why David, fraud, murder? His face crumpled. It was an accident. Laura found out I was taking it all. She attacked me. I panicked. But evidence mounted. The diary, blood, necklace, and the suitcase. Found in a nearby ravine, Laura's body inside, confirming the horror. In custody, David confessed piecemeal. The scheme started small, greed snowballed. He planned to flee alone, framing Laura. Weeks later, trial loomed. Emily filed for divorce, moved with Tommy to a new town. Aliner visited often, their bond strengthened by shared grief. Healing was slow. Tommy asked about Daddy. Emily said he made mistakes, but they were safe now. In quiet moments, she wondered how love blinded her. But forward she went, rebuilding for her son, a future untainted by shadows. In the quiet suburb of Willow Creek, where manicured lawns hid the secrets of ordinary lives, Emily Carter lived what she believed was a picture-perfect existence. Married for 8 years to David, a charismatic accountant at a prestigious firm, she spent her days raising their 5-year-old son, Tommy, and volunteering at the local library. David was the ideal husband, attentive, ambitious, and always home for dinner with a smile that could melt away the stresses of the day. Or so she thought. It all unraveled on a crisp autumn afternoon in October. Emily had been sorting through the mail when she noticed an envelope from the bank, addressed to her but marked urgent, account overdraft. Confused, she opened it, her heart sinking as she read the details. Their joint savings account, which should have held over $50,000 for Tommy's college fund, was nearly empty. Withdrawals in the thousands, transferred to unfamiliar accounts overseas. Her mind raced. Had they been hacked? She called David immediately, but his phone went straight to voicemail. "Probably in a meeting," she muttered, trying to calm herself. That evening, David arrived home late, his tie loosened and a weary expression on his face. "Rough day at the office," he said, kissing her cheek. Emily confronted him about the letter, watching his face carefully. For a split second, something flickered in his eyes, guilt, but he recovered quickly, laughing it off. "Must be a mistake, Em. I'll call the bank first thing tomorrow. Don't worry your pretty head about it." His reassurance felt hollow, but Emily pushed the doubt aside. After all, David had always handled the finances. The next morning, while Tommy was at kindergarten, Emily decided to dig deeper. She logged into their online banking from her laptop, using the password David had shared years ago. What she found chilled her to the bone. Not just withdrawals, but emails forwarded to David's work account from clients accusing him of embezzlement. One message stood out, a furious note from a widow named Mrs. Hargrove. "You've stolen my life savings, you thief. The police are involved now." Emily's hands trembled as she scrolled further. Hidden in the trash folder were reservations for 2 to the Cayman Islands, under David's name and... Sophia Ellis? Who was Sophia? Her world tilted. She searched Sophia's name online, finding a LinkedIn profile, a sharp-dressed financial analyst at David's firm with a bio boasting expert in international investments. Photos showed a poised woman in her late 20s with striking green eyes and a confident smile. Emily's stomach churned. Was this an affair, or worse? She couldn't wait for David to come home. Grabbing her keys, she drove to his office downtown, her mind a whirlwind of betrayal and fear. The receptionist, a kind older woman named Gladys, looked surprised to see her. "Mrs. Carter, David called in sick today, said he had a family emergency." Emily's blood ran cold. "Family emergency? What did he say exactly?" Gladys shook her head. "Just that he needed to visit his mother out of town. I'm sorry, dear." David's mother, Eleanor Carter, lived in a quaint cottage 2 hours away in the rural town of Elmwood. She was a frail widow in her 70s, battling arthritis and relying on David for occasional visits. Emily had always gotten along with her, though Eleanor's sharp tongue could be biting. Why would David lie about going there? Emily dialed Eleanor's number, but it rang endlessly. Panic rising, she bundled Tommy from school early and hit the road, telling him it was a surprise adventure to see Grandma. The drive felt eternal, the autumn leaves blurring into a haze of orange and red. Tommy chattered happily in the back seat about his latest drawing, a superhero family. Emily forced a smile, her knuckles white on the steering wheel. When they arrived at Eleanor's cottage, the front door was ajar and the house was eerily silent. "Eleanor, David," Emily called, ushering Tommy inside. The living room was in disarray, papers scattered, a lamp overturned. In the kitchen, her breath caught, a smear of blood on the tiled floor, not fresh but dried to a rusty brown. Tommy whimpered, clinging to her leg. "Mommy, what's that?" Emily scooped him up, her heart pounding. "Just paint, sweetie, stay here." She searched the house frantically. Upstairs, in Eleanor's bedroom, she found the old woman bound to a chair with duct tape, her mouth gagged, eyes wide with terror. "Oh God, Eleanor!" Emily ripped off the gag and untied her. The elderly woman gasped for air, tears streaming down her wrinkled cheeks. "Emily, thank heavens it was David, my own son. He did this." Over the next hour, as Emily called the police and tended to Eleanor's bruises, the horrifying truth spilled out. David had arrived unannounced that morning, demanding money from his mother's substantial inheritance. When she refused, he tied her up, ransacked the house, and left her there. "He said he needed it to fix things," Eleanor sobbed. "Mentioned a woman named Sophia, and he threatened to hurt you and Tommy if I didn't comply." The local police arrived swiftly, Elmwood's small force, led by Captain Alina Reyes, a no-nonsense veteran with a reputation for cracking tough cases. She took statements, photographed the scene, and dusted for prints. "This looks like extortion, possibly tied to larger fraud," Captain Reyes said, her dark eyes sympathetic yet steely. "We've had reports from the city about embezzlement at his firm. Your husband might be in deep." Emily felt numb as they relocated to a nearby motel for safety, with an officer posted outside. Tommy, sensing the tension, curled up in her lap, whispering, "Where's Daddy?" She held him close, fighting back tears. "Daddy's on a trip, baby. He'll be back soon." That night, Eleanor's phone rang from an unknown number. Captain Reyes, who had stayed to monitor, nodded for her to answer on speaker. "Mother, it's David. I need that money now. Wire it to the account I gave you, or things will get ugly for Emily and the kid." Eleanor's voice trembled, but she followed the script the captain had prepared. "David, I can't access the funds myself. The bank's sending a representative with cash tomorrow evening. Meet at the old mill on the edge of town. 7 p.m. Come alone." There was a pause. "Fine, but if this is a setup, Mother." His voice was cold, unrecognizable. The line went dead. "He's taken the bait," Captain Reyes announced, rallying her team. "We'll set up a sting." The next day was a blur of preparation. Unmarked cars, hidden snipers, a decoy officer posing as the bank rep with a briefcase of fake bills. Emily insisted on being there, hidden in a surveillance van. "I need to see this through," she told the captain. Before leaving, she hugged Tommy goodbye at the motel where a trusted neighbor, Mrs. Leela, watched over him. "Be brave, Mommy," he said, his small hand in hers. The old mill, abandoned since the textile industry collapsed decades ago, loomed like a skeletal relic under the setting sun. Emily watched the monitors, her pulse racing. The decoy stood in the cavernous main hall, briefcase in hand. Movement on the screen, a figure in a hooded jacket slinked in, gun visible in his grip. It was David, his once handsome face twisted in paranoia. "Show me the money," he demanded. The decoy complied, opening the case. That's when the trap sprang, floodlights blazed, officers swarmed. "Police, drop the weapon." David fired wildly, shattering a window, but he was outnumbered. A shot from an officer grazed his leg, sending him sprawling. Handcuffs clicked and his hood fell back, revealing eyes filled with rage. Emily emerged from the van, confronting him. "David, how could you?" He sneered, the charm gone. "You were always so trusting, Emily, so blind. Sophia and I had a plan, a new life. You were just convenient." Before she could respond, shouts echoed from the mill's entrance. A battered woman stumbled in, clothes torn, one hand clutching a bloody cloth. "Help, please." Captain Reyes gasped. "Sophia Ellis." Sophia, alive but beaten, collapsed into an officer's arms. "He tried to kill me," at Eleanor's house. "I fought back, escaped through the woods." David thrashed against his restraints. "You bitch, I thought I finished you." At the station, over lukewarm tea, Sophia's story unfolded. She'd met David at work, drawn into his schemes of skimming client funds. "He promised me the world, said he was divorced. When I discovered the truth and threatened to expose him, he attacked me at his mother's. I played dead, then ran when he left." Emily listened, a strange empathy forming. Both women deceived by the same monster. David confessed under pressure, admitting to fraud totaling millions, the assault on Sophia, and using Emily's identity for cover. Months later, with David imprisoned for 20 years, Emily rebuilt in Willow Creek. She divorced him, started therapy, and opened a small bookstore with Eleanor's help. Tommy thrived, drawing pictures of his super mom. Sophia, recovering, testified and moved on, occasionally checking in on Emily, a bond forged in betrayal. Life wasn't perfect, but it was honest. Emily learned trust was earned, not given blindly. And in the quiet evenings, watching Tommy play, she knew she'd survived the ruins to build something stronger. Shadows of deception. In the quiet suburb of Willow Creek, Emily Harper sat in her cozy kitchen, sipping coffee as the morning sun filtered through the lace curtains. At 35, she had built what she believed was a perfect life. A loving husband, Mark, a successful architect, their 7-year-old daughter, Lily, with her infectious giggle and boundless curiosity, and a charming two-story home filled with memories. But perfection, as Emily would soon learn, was often just a fragile illusion. It started with a phone call on a rainy Tuesday afternoon. Emily was at work, teaching third-grade history at the local elementary school, when her phone buzzed. The caller ID showed unknown. She almost ignored it, but something compelled her to answer. "Mrs. Harper, this is Detective Laura Voss from the Willow Creek Police Department. We need you to come down to the station immediately. It's about your husband." Emily's heart skipped a beat. "Is Mark okay? Was there an accident?" "He's fine, ma'am, but we have him in custody. Please come as soon as you can." The drive to the station felt eternal. Rain pelted the windshield like accusations, and Emily's mind raced through worst-case scenarios. A car crash, a misunderstanding at work. When she arrived, Detective Voss, a stern woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor, led her to a small interview room. "Your husband was arrested this morning on suspicion of embezzlement from his firm," Voss explained, sliding a folder across the table. "We've been investigating for months. He and a colleague, Sophia Reyes, have been siphoning funds from client accounts." Emily stared at the documents, her world tilting. Mark, embezzlement? It couldn't be. He was the man who surprised her with weekend getaways, who coached Lily's soccer team, who whispered, "I love you" every night before bed. "There's more," Voss continued gently. "Sophia Reyes was found severely injured at a remote cabin owned by Mark's father. She claims Mark tried to kill her after she confronted him about their scheme." The words hit like a physical blow. Emily's hands trembled as she flipped through photos. Bank statements showing transfers to offshore accounts, text messages between Mark and Sophia planning their escape, and grainy surveillance footage of Mark loading a suspicious duffel bag into his SUV. "I need to see him," Emily whispered, her voice breaking. Voss nodded. "We'll arrange it, but first we need your statement. Did you notice anything unusual?" Emily racked her brain. There had been signs, she realized now, late nights at the office, unexplained trips, a growing distance in their marriage. But she'd chalked it up to stress from work. How could she have been so blind? As Voss questioned her, Emily's phone rang again. It was Mark's father, Mr. Harold Turner, a retired engineer living in a lakeside cabin an hour away. "Emily, what's going on? The police are here, searching the place. They say Mark and some woman were using it as a hideout." The pieces fell into place. Mark had suggested they visit Harold's cabin last weekend, but Emily had declined due to Lily's school play. Now she understood why. He'd been there with Sophia. After giving her statement, Emily was allowed a brief visit with Mark in a stark holding cell. He looked haggard, his usual polished appearance replaced by rumpled clothes and dark circles under his eyes. "Emily," he said, reaching for her hand through the bars, but she pulled back. "This is all a mistake. Sophia's lying. She's the one who dragged me into this." "Lying? The evidence says otherwise, Mark. The money, the messages, how could you?" He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I got in over my head. The firm was struggling and Sophia had this plan. It was supposed to be quick, just enough to get us ahead. But things spiraled." "And the affair," Emily's voice cracked. "Was that part of the plan too?" Mark's eyes flickered with guilt. "It wasn't supposed to happen, but Emily, our life, it's so ordinary. I wanted more excitement, adventure. You were always content with the simple things." Tears streamed down her face. "We have a daughter, Mark. Lily adores you. How could you throw it all away?" He hung his head. "I love Lily, and you in my way, but it wasn't enough." Those words echoed in her mind as she left the station, driving home in a daze. Lily was with a neighbor, oblivious to the chaos. Emily picked her up, forcing a smile. "Mommy, where's Daddy? He promised to read me a story tonight." Emily knelt down, hugging her tight. "Daddy's working late, sweetie, but Mommy's here." That night, as Lily slept, Emily pored over their finances. Bank accounts drained, credit cards maxed out. Mark had been funneling money for years. She called Harold, who was devastated. "I can't believe my own son. I'll help you however I can, Emily. Come stay with me if you need to." The next day, Sophia Reyes agreed to testify. In a hospital bed, bandaged and bruised, she recounted her story to Detective Voss, with Emily present as a witness. Sophia was a striking woman in her late 20s, with dark hair and piercing green eyes. "Mark and I started working together 2 years ago," she began, her voice weak but steady. "At first, it was just business. Then it became more. He promised we'd run away together, start fresh in Brazil with the money we'd stolen." Emily felt nausea rise. Brazil. Mark had mentioned a dream vacation there once, but she dismissed it. "Things went wrong when I found out he was playing me too," Sophia continued. "He booked a single flight ticket, transferred all the funds to his private account. When I confronted him at the cabin, he snapped, grabbed a lamp and hit me, then tried to strangle me. I blacked out, but I woke up in time to escape to the woods. I hid until I heard sirens." "How did the police find you?" Voss asked. "I managed to call 911 from a burner phone before passing out again. Mark must have thought I was dead. He left in a hurry, loading a bag into his car." Emily's mind flashed to the duffel bag in the footage. What was in it? Sophia shrugged weakly. "Probably cash, documents, maybe even forged passports. He was paranoid about leaving evidence." Voss nodded. "We've recovered some of it from where he ditched the car, enough to build a solid case." Sophia handed over an encrypted flash drive. "Everything's here, client lists, transaction records. I kept copies as insurance." Mark thought I was naive. As Emily left the hospital, a mix of anger and pity washed over her. Sophia was a victim too, in her own twisted way. "I'm sorry," Sophia called after her. "I didn't know about you or your daughter until it was too late." "It's not your fault," Emily replied, echoing words she'd tell herself later. The blame lay squarely with Mark. Back at the station, Voss updated her. Mark faced charges of embezzlement, attempted murder, and forgery. The trial would be lengthy, but the evidence was overwhelming. Emily returned home to Lily, who sensed something was wrong. "Mommy, why are you sad?" Taking a deep breath, Emily began the painful process. "Sweetie, Daddy did something wrong, and he has to go away for a while to fix it. But it's not because of you. He loves you so much." Lily's eyes welled up. "Will he come back?" "I don't know, baby, but we'll be okay. We have Grandpa Harold, Aunt Jenna, and each other." In the weeks that followed, Emily filed for divorce. Harold sold his cabin, unable to bear the memories, and moved closer to help with Lily. Emily's sister, Jenna, flew in from New York, offering emotional support and helping with the move to a modest apartment. The scandal made local news. Whispers followed Emily at work, colleagues' sympathetic glances, parents' curious stares at school pickups. But she held her head high, focusing on Lily's routines: soccer practices, bedtime stories, weekend picnics. One evening, as Emily tucked Lily in, her daughter asked, "Mommy, was Daddy a bad guy?" Emily paused, choosing her words carefully. "Daddy made bad choices, honey, but that doesn't mean he didn't love us. People are complicated." As months turned to 6, life began to stabilize. Emily advanced at school, becoming department head. Lily thrived, her resilience a mirror of her mother's. Harold became a doting grandfather, teaching Lily to fish and build model boats. The trial came and went. Mark was sentenced to 15 years. In his final letter to Emily, he wrote, "I'm sorry for the pain I caused. Take care of Lily. Tell her I love her." Emily didn't respond. Instead, she burned the letter, watching the flames consume the last remnants of their shared past. One crisp autumn day, as Emily and Lily walked through the park, hand in hand, Lily pointed to a family picnicking nearby. "Mommy, will we ever have a family like that again?" Emily smiled, kneeling down. "We already do, sweetie. It's you and me and Grandpa and Aunt Jenna. Families come in all shapes, and ours is strong." As they continued walking, leaves crunching underfoot, Emily felt a spark of hope. The shadows of deception had nearly consumed her, but she had emerged, not unbroken, but reforged, stronger, wiser, ready for whatever came next. Years later, on Lily's 12th birthday, Emily reflected on the journey. They had moved to a new town where no one knew their story. Emily had even started dating, a kind widower named Tom, who made her laugh like Mark once had, but with genuine warmth. Lily, now a confident preteen, rarely asked about her father. When she did, Emily shared age-appropriate truths, always emphasizing love and forgiveness without excusing the wrongs. In the quiet moments, Emily would look at old photos, not with bitterness but with a sense of closure. The man she married was gone, replaced by memories and lessons. Life wasn't perfect, it never had been, but it was real and it was theirs. And in that reality, they found peace. Shadows of deception. In the quiet suburb of Willow Creek, where manicured lawns hid the secrets of ordinary lives, Elena Ramirez lived what she believed was a picture-perfect existence. Married to Victor Hale for 8 years, she had built a home filled with the laughter of their 5-year-old daughter, Sophia. Victor worked as a senior accountant at a prestigious consulting firm, often traveling for client meetings, while Elena balanced her part-time job as a graphic designer with motherhood. Their life was comfortable, not lavish but stable, or so she thought. It all unraveled on a crisp spring afternoon in 2023. Elena was at her desk sketching logos for a freelance project when her phone buzzed with a call from an unknown number. She almost ignored it, but something compelled her to answer. The voice on the other end was frail, elderly, Mrs. Lydia Voss, Victor's estranged aunt, whom Elena had met only a handful of times at family gatherings. "Elena, dear," Mrs. Voss whispered, her words trembling like leaves in the wind. "You must listen, Victor. He's not who you think. He's been stealing from me from others. And now, there's blood, so much blood at my neighbor's house. Please come quickly before it's too late." Elena's heart pounded. Mrs. Voss had always been eccentric, prone to dramatic tales, but this felt different, urgent, laced with terror. Dropping everything, Elena rushed to the address Mrs. Voss provided, a quaint cottage on the outskirts of town owned by Victor's business associate, Mr. Harlan Thorpe. The door was ajar when she arrived, and inside the scene was chaos: overturned furniture, shattered glass, and dark stains on the carpet that looked suspiciously like blood. Panicking, Elena called the police. As sirens wailed in the distance, she pieced together fragments from Mrs. Voss's frantic explanations over the phone. Victor had been embezzling funds from clients, including his aunt's retirement savings, funneling money into offshore accounts. Mr. Thorpe had discovered the scheme and confronted him. In a fit of rage, Victor had attacked him with a fireplace poker, leaving him for dead. But Thorpe had survived, barely, and was now in hiding, fearing for his life. When the officers arrived, they confirmed the blood was real. Victor was arrested that evening at the airport, a suitcase stuffed with cash and fake passports in hand. He had been planning to flee to South America with his secret lover, a woman named Marissa Klein, who had been his accomplice in the fraud. The revelation shattered Elena like fragile glass. How had she missed the signs? The late nights at the office, the unexplained gifts, the distant demeanor. Sophia, innocent and wide-eyed, kept asking, "Where's Daddy? When is he coming home?" Following the guidance of a family counselor, Elena responded with age-appropriate honesty. "Daddy made some bad choices, sweetheart. He's going to be away for a while, but he loves you very much." As weeks turned to months, the questions from Sophia faded, her young mind adapting with the elasticity only children possess. Elena, however, was haunted by nightmares, visions of the bloodied cottage floor, the weight of Victor's suitcase as he loaded it into their garage. She threw herself into work and therapy, determined to rebuild. The trial commenced on a sweltering summer morning in 2024, the courthouse air thick with humidity and tension. Reporters swarmed the steps, victims of the embezzlement filled the benches, and curious locals whispered in the aisles. Elena sat in the front row beside Mr. Thorpe, whose once robust frame now seemed diminished, scarred by the assault. His eyes, sharp and unyielding, met hers with a nod of solidarity. "We've got this," he murmured, his hand steady on her shoulder as the bailiff called the court to order. Victor entered in a tailored navy suit, his dark hair slicked back, exuding the charisma that had once charmed Elena into marriage. Their gazes locked for a split second, his expression a mix of sorrow and cunning. She averted her eyes, the betrayal too raw. The prosecutor, a formidable woman with a no-nonsense bob and piercing blue eyes, laid out the charges: grand larceny, assault with intent to kill, blackmail, and unlawful possession of forged documents. "This isn't merely about pilfered fortunes," she boomed, addressing the jury with unwavering conviction. "Though millions vanished into Victor Hale's pockets. It's about shattered faith in colleagues who entrusted him with their livelihoods, in an aunt manipulated for her savings, in a neighbor nearly bludgeoned to death. And most profoundly," she paused, her gaze flicking to Alina, "in a wife and child who shared his home, oblivious to the monster within." Evidence mounted: falsified ledgers, wire transfers to hidden accounts, witness statements from defrauded clients. Marissa Klein took the stand next, her testimony a damning chronicle. She was a striking woman in her mid-30s, with raven hair and a composed demeanor that belied her guilt. Dressed in a modest blouse and skirt, she recounted how Victor had seduced her into the scheme with promises of luxury and escape. "We started small," she said, her voice steady but edged with regret. "Skimming fees here, inflating expenses there. But when Harlan confronted us, Victor snapped. He grabbed the poker and swung it like a madman. 'You're a liability,' he snarled as he struck. Then he turned on me when I tried to stop him, choking me until I blacked out." The defense lawyer, a slick operator with a perpetual smirk and expensive cufflinks, cross-examined Marissa ruthlessly. "You were knee-deep in this fraud, Ms. Klein. Isn't this just a ploy to shift blame and cut a deal?" he sneered. Marissa didn't flinch. "I own my part in it. I'm pleading guilty to the embezzlement. But Victor, he orchestrated everything. The assault was premeditated. He'd researched poisons online beforehand. The evidence doesn't lie." Alina's turn on the stand felt surreal, as if she were narrating a stranger's tragedy. She described arriving at Thorpe's house, the horror of the blood, the call from Mrs. Voss that exposed it all. The defense pounced. "Mrs. Ramirez, surely you noticed inconsistencies. Lavish dinners, unexplained absences. You enabled this lifestyle." Indignation flared in Alina. "What lifestyle? We drove a 10-year-old sedan. Our home was modest. Victor's salary covered the bills, nothing more. I trusted him." "That was my error." More testimonies followed. Swindled investors weeping over lost retirements, detectives detailing digital trails, experts analyzing the assault wounds. The defense spun a tale of Victor as a victim, pressured by Marissa, driven to desperation by debts. But browser histories revealed searches for quick ways to dispose of evidence and untraceable flights, dismantling their narrative. On the penultimate day, Victor addressed the court. He rose with deliberate poise, scanning the room before speaking. "I won't contest the facts," he said, his tone measured, eliciting gasps. "I embezzled. I assaulted Harlan. I blackmailed my aunt. Explanations don't excuse it. I spiraled from minor thefts to a vortex of deceit." He turned to Alina. "My love for you and Sophia was the one truth in my lies. I regret the pain I've caused." The judge, a stern figure with silver hair, interjected. "And the fabricated threats to your family, using them as leverage." Victor bowed his head. "My nadir, desperation blinded me." Sentencing came swiftly. 25 years for the combined crimes, no parole for 18. As guards escorted him out, Victor's final glance at Alina held raw defeat, no masks left. Outside, Alina and Mr. Thorpe shared a quiet moment under the sun. "It's done," he said. "Time to heal." She nodded, feeling the first stirrings of closure. 3 years later, in 2027, life had transformed. Alina had met Alex Rivera, a kind-hearted teacher at Sophia's school, through a parent-teacher event. Their bond grew organically, rooted in transparency and shared values. Sophia and Alex's son, Mateo, bonded over playground adventures and storybooks. Mrs. Voss, recovering her spirit, welcomed Alex into the fold, sharing tea and tailies from her youth. Victor, incarcerated, showed signs of change, enrolling in rehabilitation programs, writing apologies to victims. Sophia visited quarterly, returning with tailies of his art classes and self-help books. Alina remained cautious. Redemption's proof lay in actions, not words. From the ruins of betrayal, Alina forged resilience. Life's detours taught her that trust could fracture, but from honest foundations, new paths emerged. Mrs. Voss's whisper had upended her world, yet in its wake bloomed authenticity, a life rebuilt on truth, gratitude blooming amid the scars.